We do have a good number, so we would kick off. I would appreciate if those who are not speaking would put their phones on mute so that we don't have any interference. Okay, so good evening, Great Lions, and thank you very much for joining us this evening for our Learning Lounge for the month of March. And this evening, we are going to be considering a very interesting and useful session that's focusing on raising funds online. We do know that with the evolving landscape and the increased adoption of technology and with innovation, it's important that we are on top of our game, and we are also able to leverage on these tools to advance what we do as Lions. And you all agree with me that, I mean, for the kind of work that we do, for the kind of impact that we would want to achieve, funding is very, very critical. So we need to be very strategic, very deliberate about leveraging on various opportunities to raise funds. So this evening, we have the honor and privilege of having a distinguished lion who would share his fine thoughts with us. But before we kick off the business of the day, I would want to invite our district governor, Lion Folashade Sotomide, to give us her opening remarks. My governor, ma, over to you.
Thank you so much, my GLT. Great leaders, our speaker, Lion Samuel Pope. Yes, one speakers that we all love to hear from. Be under your voice and get refreshed or get informed. Thank you so much for your time. So much appreciate you, sir. Great Lions, it's another time to learn, another time to tap into ideas. As it's being dished out to us tonight, I want us to be attentive. It can't be, I cannot say that there's a better time for us to learn anything. Every time we have the opportunity and we key into it, we have one particular thing or the other to hold on to. So let's get our pen and paper and start taking notes and apply immediately so that our facilitator will also be proud when he start hearing testimonies of how we apply what we learned today. Please relax and let us flow along. Thank you so much, everyone. See you at the end of this presentation. Thank you. Thank you, my DLT.
Thank you very much, my governor. Okay. My past area leader, sir, just to be sure that you're ready for us to roll.
I'm all set. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, District Governor. Thank you for your kind words.
My pleasure, sir.
just to be sure my screen is optimized for this. Can you just confirm if it's in presentation mode, please?
I can
Not
see your
yet.
screen. I can see your screen, but you need to take it onto slide show
Okay.
mode.
All right, then that's fine. I'll do that right. Okay, great. So we're good to roll, and our topic for this evening is dialing for dollars, online resources for fundraising. And it's an honor and privilege to have our past area leader who, for the benefit of those who do not know him, I'm sure there might be a handful of new Lions. He's a member of the Port Harcourt Crystal Lions Club, Progressive Melvin Jones Fellow, and almost 40 years within the Lions family. That's counting both his Leo and Lion years. He was a past GAT area leader. He's been a past council chairperson, and in terms of his background, he's a finance investment specialist and also a consultant in that space. My humble self, I had the privilege of co-facilitating this session. I'm from the Lagos Phoenix Lions Club and JLT for District 4 for A3 at the moment. So, big question, why digital fundraising? Why do we need to explore online fundraising options? Why don't we just stick to our traditional mode of fundraising? The important thing is that there has been a rapid evolution within our space, and this has not been limited just to the online, just to fundraising, but in every aspect of life. Technology has come to say we've leveraged it for so many things, for communication, for learning, for meeting. And indeed, there's nothing that stops us now from leveraging technology to raise funds. It's what we need to embrace, because that's the only way we're able to address a lot of global challenges. When we started having virtual clubs or virtual meetings, it was like something that was unimaginable. When we, post-COVID, we saw a lot of businesses, offices transition from having physical spaces to going virtual. That's all embracing technology. We saw a lot of shops, businesses closing down and having just online stores, and we've embraced that because of the convenience and the low cost implication, in leveraging technology and online tools. It's also important because for us to be able to fundraise digitally, you're able to, with a click of a button, reach a wide audience. And it's something that is, most importantly, I would say, cost-effective and trackable, especially during times where you don't have the resources or the wherewithal to commit so much into raising funds. And like I said in the beginning, with the kind of work that we do, it's important that we anchor or explore these options. I always give an example with investiture ceremonies that we have. Sometimes you have occasions where clubs would spend, say, 10 million for the whole fanfare of an investiture and end up raising maybe 5 million. They do not even raise enough money to cover the cost of the event. So it's pretty much run at a loss, and that in itself, it's not a sustainable way. That is why it's very important that we do explore options to raise funds virtually. I always would use my club as an example, the Lagos Phoenix Lions Club. We've had 3 successful online investiture ceremonies and fundraising, and we pretty much maybe only spent less than 50,000, because I mean, we would design the flyers and circulate, you know, and set up an online link where people are able to also just donate via a click of the button. Those are key things that we have embraced, and those are things that have worked, you know, and that's why increasingly you see a lot of organizations, you see a lot of non-profits, you know, embracing the option of digital fundraising. Indeed, we also see that for individuals. I'm sure a number of us have seen online campaigns or fundraisers that are being championed by individuals, and it's limitless in terms of what our focus can be. So it could be you want to raise funds for a particular project. It could be more broadly around humanitarian initiatives that we as Lions carry out. But the important thing is that, you know, you're able to reach a very wide audience within a very short amount of time and with minimal cost. It's a key thing, and I believe in today's world that we do live in, it's important that we embrace digital fundraising to help advance our cause as Lions. I would pass on to our past area leader to take on the next slide. Yeah. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for that introduction, dear Lion Joyce. And like I've said before, it's a privilege and an honor to share this platform with you today to share our thoughts, our combined thoughts. I remember when we were going through the FDI program, one of the things they used to ask us was to demonstrate to our audience our credibility. That's for training. Meaning, why should anybody take you seriously? That's the whole gamut of credibility. Why should anybody take you seriously? In terms of person-to-person fundraising, I've been privileged to be involved in a lot of fundraising activities, both within and outside the Lions Club. And I ask that question every time people want to raise funds. Why should anyone take you seriously? What is the strategic value you bring to the table? Because you're asking for people's monies. And why then should they support you? Physically, in person-to-person fundraising, physical fundraising exercises, we've learned how to be, a few Lions clubs have learned how to be successful. I belong to a club where we have very strict rules about our installation, about our fundraising. The current year, we made a profit of about 23 million naira for our installation. The year before, we did 6 million naira. The year before, we did 11 million naira. It fluctuates, but it's a sin for you to conduct a fundraising and your cost is higher than your inflows, your revenue. So the same way, when you get online, you must be clear. The first thing you must ask yourself is, what value are you, in quotes, the beggar, bringing to the table? Why should anybody fund you? Bearing in mind that most online fundraising platforms are just what they are, a platform, a vehicle. The owners of the website don't own the funds. The owners of the website basically provide a platform where different persons can come and invest money in courses that they're interested in. So here we talk about accessing funds stems from what strategic value you bring to the table. Some people are looking to raise funds for impact. You want to carry out a project. A lot of Lions clubs are doing a lot of impactful work, but a lot of us do not know how to measure and to publish those impacts. And in most cases, funders don't know you. but your impact speaks for itself if you curate your impact in a way that the funder can appreciate it. So funds for impact, and this is probably the most important reason funders bring money to the table. Every time you go to a crowdfunding site, what people will be looking at is the storyline. Why do these people want money? And what impact can my $1, $2, because they don't bring very large amounts of money. $1, $2, $10, $50. What impact will my own addition make? So you have to demonstrate both from what you've done, track record, and what you want to do, the purpose, the concept, the impact that you want to achieve. Another reason people bring funds to, donate funds is to scale up. Maybe you have been very successful at providing borehole water, treated water to communities, and currently about 200 families have access to drinkable water because of your activities as a Lions Club. And you want to scale from 200 to 10,000 people. You have to show that if these monies come, this is the kind of growth. This is the challenge in this community, why they cannot have drinking water, or they have been abandoned by government. Or maybe, just maybe, if you had these funds, you would access additional funds from other bigger organizations. There are some organizations that demand that you have counterpart funding. Even LCIF, our homegrown foundation, usually asks for counterpart funding. You bring your own 20 or 30% to the table, and they bring their own 80 and 70%. And you may not have that 20%, but you can crowd fund that 20%. But the people bringing you that 20% want to see that you already have a track record and we are growing this to a much bigger project. The third possible value you could bring to the table is that you're seeking funds to demonstrate a proof of concept. What do we mean by a proof of concept? You have a great idea, you have a great invention, you have a great process that can transform lives. It hasn't been tried before. You have faith in it, and you can explain in a few sentences how your process is going to transform lives, and you want to do a pilot, for instance, in, say, Bagada or Ijegun or Badagry, name any community, it doesn't matter the community, but you have your facts, you have of both the process, the demographics of where you want to go and do that transformation and all that. It's called proof of concept. You're looking for funding to prove that what you have developed can actually work. At times, you're just looking for funds or people to partner with you to, resolve disasters that have just happened, emergency situations. And we have a lot of that in Nigeria, flooding and all that. Luckily, we typically don't experience severe earthquakes. We've had tremors in 1 or 2 parts of Nigeria, but we're not sitting on a tectonic plane that you could say earthquakes are the order of the day here. But you could do crowdfunding for your disaster relief. And then there are increasing requirements to save the earth. So environmental sustainability. If you could demonstrate that the activity you want to carry out is going to help with environmental sustainability. And don't forget, next month is the Lions Environmental Month for environmental projects. I just gave you some examples of what kind of value you can demonstrate to a potential funder, bearing in mind that these platforms, which we'll be sharing in a few slides down the line, simply just provide a platform for different funders to bring money. They are not the funders. They are simply a platform where you can go to and access a lot of money. I've seen someone who wanted to raise $7,000 being given $280,000, 40 times more than he required. Why? Because of the strategic value he put across. Next slide, please. Next slide. So what are the key considerations by online funders? Please, can we just list them up here? I've talked about your strategic value. That is your unique proposition. I've talked about a demonstration of certainty that this concept is a proven concept or can be proven. The next one is your track record. I think one of the things that sells best online is track record. Track record basically points to the fact that whether it is in this line of activity or in other lines, you have been actively involved in things that help the society. And measuring track record is tricky. Tricky in the sense that you're trying to appeal to a broad range of people. You don't want to narrow your track record down to people who are looking for one thing. Otherwise, you put other people off. But at the same time, you want to show expertise in a particular area. A lot of funders are also looking at projects that you do it small today, but there's opportunity for you to do it at a larger scale. And then we have a unique advantage as Lions. Our unique advantage as Lions is that we don't pay for labor in our projects. Lion Joyce happens to work for a development organization. Every time they go out to carry out a project in different parts of the country and different parts of the world, because it's a global institution, they practically have to pay consultants, pay service providers and all that. The difference between that kind of institution and the Lions is that the Lions, 90% of what we do is voluntary. Please, can you turn off? Thank you. 90% of what we do is voluntary. So when you demonstrate to them that these funds will not be used for paying labor costs because already the labor aspect is being provided by the Lions Club. And Lions Club is a global name. We already have a reputation. That immediately increases your chances of success. And then, of course, legal structure. They want to know, most people want to know, are we giving to a legal entity? Are we giving it to an individual? And what are the risks involved? So if you address those things in your package, you let people know that we are part of an international association, we are chartered, and we abide by certain codes and conduct. And you can put a link to our website to show that you're just a branch, one of 50,000 branches of the Lions Club worldwide. And this is what you've been doing. But Lions are involved doing other things. You are likely to get more success. And then, of course, there are some of the platforms that attract funders to specific areas. Some platforms focus on creative skills, helping young people build their creative skills so that they can be self-sufficient. Some focus on the environment. So if you go and bring food related, there are some that focus on poverty. If it's poverty, they would want to see that you are not just sharing food to people, but you're also teaching them how to fish. You're creating a sustainable solution to hunger and poverty. Next slide, please. Next slide. These are some of the best practices, things that trigger a constant flow of funding. Like I've talked about impact, it is always best to connect what you're doing, connect the gifts you're asking for, the donations you're asking for, to what results they would achieve. I'm sure you've seen Lions Club publish in times past that we have become so good at cataract surgeries globally that for $4, you can conduct a cataract surgery for $4. Now, that statement may not hold true in all parts of the world, but we've achieved it. I remember some time ago, we were organizing a cataract surgery program in my club, and we're being charged 130,000 naira per eye, per surgery, per procedure. And one of our members who was made the project champion took it upon himself to go out looking for, organizations that would do it cheaper. And we got it for 30,000 naira. And it was a roaring success. So if you connect gifts or donations to impact, people can relate to it. If you are planning to scale up, you don't need to ask them to bring all the money at once, especially when the project you want to use the money for is something that's going to take a period. So you can ask for recurring gifts, You could even offer suggested amounts. We just want $10 from you. We just want $20 from you. That doesn't mean people won't give you more. But you see, you're tying $10 to specific impact. Don't forget, if you mess it up once, almost all the platforms will blacklist you. They know those who are shopping for fraudulent opportunities and misrepresentations. So at times when you make this offer, you need to be sure that if someone is giving you the $10 you're asking for, you'll be able to demonstrate that you achieved what you said you would achieve with the $10. Then again, for you to be successful in raising funds online, you also need to tap into the network, the social network of all your members and friends. Every Lion should typically have 2-3 social networks, online social networks and physical social networks. You reach out to them. So imagine the multiplier effect. You have, like I have over 60 members in my club. Imagine that each of them brings various networks, 3 networks, about 180. And out of this 180 people, 180 networks, you have about 100 people in each of those networks or more. Some WhatsApp networks are far more. So just by harnessing the social networks of my members, we could easily head for 180,000 people we are reaching out to with our initial messaging. That's the advantage of tapping into our social networks. Make sure that whatever you put up online matches what you say you are and what you do, your branding. You can't have brandings that, misrepresent who you are or misrepresent the project you're trying to put forward. And then we try as much as possible to target donor data to improve our audience with research. So there's a lot of research that goes in to preparing one campaign, one fundraising campaign. You need to be clear, define who your donors will be, your audience will be. You can profile your audience. Where will you find this audience? And so when you're designing your campaign actually reaches out to these specific people. Next slide, please. At this point, I'd like to ask, is there anyone here? I'd just like to ask a question. Is there anyone here who has been involved in any kind of online fundraising? You could put up your hand if you've been involved. We're about 80 on this call tonight. Is there anybody who's been involved in any kind of online fundraising? You could unmute yourself, or you could just type into the chat box, which platform you used and how successful it was.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, Lion Charles, please.
Klaus Seidu.
Oh, Seidu, yes, please go ahead. Seidu, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, my leader. I was involved in an online fundraising, not for Lions Club really. I took part in the marathon last year, and I was running for cancer. I was supporting a cancer research institute, and I used Just Giving. I set out to raise about £100. Eventually, I was able to raise £500 within 1 month. So
excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Lion Seidu. What specific thing do you think made you very successful in raising £500?
Yeah, because I was like you said, you have to showcase what you have and what you have done, your history and your what do I call it? The fact that you know what you're doing. So I was telling stories of what I have done in the past and how I have done it and what I intend to do. How I've been able to raise funds for people before then. I've supported people for this. Yeah.
Beautiful. Now,
But
what you
showing a
achieved.
lot of track records, yeah.
Thank you. That I was just going to say that. Seidu, thank you so much for that input. What you did was you demonstrated track record. You made your story more compelling because you've demonstrated that you've done it before. But beyond that, cancer is an area where you have a lot of people living with cancer or people who have had to be primary caregivers or supporters of people living with cancer. What that typically does is that you already have a store of an emotional bank. That's why in the previous slide I talked about as one of the best practices, you need to research your audience, donors, cancer, kidney. These are areas, health-related areas where eyesight, different types of cancer, where so many people have had challenges or have watched others have challenges. There's hardly any family today in Africa that hasn't had a family living with either diabetes, a family living with cancer, or one of these things, renal disease. But you see, if you went and made a broad statement of something you want to do with diabetes, nobody would trust your abilities there. Why is that so? Because diabetes, there's no cure for diabetes. Diabetes is a management program. At the moment, you can only manage diabetes. So you would be hard put convincing someone that you have a proof of concept for diabetes that has not yet been proven medically. But because you are raising funds to support people, make people living with cancer a little more comfortable, you're able to gain some traction. $500 is a lot of, £500 is a lot of money. And I congratulate you for the work you were able to do. Now, where do these monies come from? Yeah, the platform is the platform. You have different platforms. You have DonorBox, you have GoFundMe, you have Kickstarter, Crowdfunder, a whole lot of them, Indiegogo. Joyce, on a subsequent slide, is going to be discussing some of these platforms. But the platforms don't have any money. The platforms simply attract people. One, they attract the crowd. That's why we call them crowdfunders. They attract all manner of retail monies, all manner of people. They also, for some of these projects, like if you're doing a proof of concept, they attract family investment offices. Now, you could have written to these family investment offices if you knew them. What's a family investment office? A rich family decides that all its resources should be managed by private wealth managers, investment advisors. They don't offer investment to third parties. All the investment is for the benefit of the family. So they see a product that they think would be useful to society and that they could tap into tomorrow. They don't mind funding it. There's so many of those, tons of these family investment offices, but you don't know them. So some of them also subscribe to some of these platforms to see what is new in the market space. Again, you have corporate foundations. Years back, Lions District 404A, as it was then known, signed an agreement with Arik Air to raise funds on their flights. All these envelopes. It didn't work out because Arik Air ran into some difficulties shortly after. But you can imagine the number of people who would have been able to donate to Lions Club, all right, through those what do we call it? Through the small donations in envelopes that we find on international airlines. But other international airlines have these packages. MTN has a foundation. Qatar Airlines has a foundation. BOA has a foundation. Different organizations are coming up with their corporate foundations. Why do they do this? The funds they would have paid as tax can be given to charity and would achieve a lot more mileage in their opinion. So, because any monies they give to charity is tax deductible. However, you must meet certain legal requirements for them to give you money. Now, you could reach them directly, but some of them also go on these online platforms to support what the online platforms are doing. I've put up a link there. It's a funding platform for NGOs. It's called fundsforngos.org. Certain aspects of the website require that you subscribe. But for anybody who is into impact or social enterprise, you would find this website extremely helpful because it exposes you to where different funds, different grants, and all that. So it's not only the crowdfunding platforms that can give you access to funding, you can actually reach them directly. No physical contacts, no special events, no installation required. I'm talking about places where you can pick up $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for good projects without any stress. So these are some of the funding sources, the people who fund these platforms that Joyce will be sharing with you. At this point, I'm going to yield the floor to Joyce. She's going to take up some more slides, and I'll come back to you towards the end of this session. Thank you very much. Joyce, I yield to you.
Thank you very much, past area leader, for the insights. And just like you said, key things are credibility. How do we ensure that, we position ourselves as credible organizations that would help make it easy for donors to align with our cause. And indeed, proving track records, just like you have said, and just like Lion Saidu has shared, is very, very critical. So these are some of the online platforms that we do have available. It's limitless because there are quite a number. These are just some few that I've highlighted here. We do have GiveButter. It's a free all-in-one fundraising suite, basically for non-profits. We have Global Giving. This is for crowdfunding, also for vetted non-profits. We have Bonfire. So Bonfire also, helps you with coming up with a campaign page, like a mini website, and then, you have your campaigns all running on that platform. We have to be mindful of the fact that not every online platform might give you a full page in terms of creating kind of a web page, but to a very large extent, you're able to customize, your own campaign to suit your target audience, and that's very, very key. Bringing it back home in Nigeria, we do have donate.ng. It's an online platform as well that is easy for those based in Nigeria to register with and utilize. Same thing with giving.ng as well. These are pretty new, but they have been utilized successfully for a number of fundraising efforts towards different causes. So it's possible for us to leverage on some of these platforms when we do seek to raise funds as clubs. And Kofi as well is an African-based, I think Kenya also, platform that is being utilized for online fundraising. And for a lot of us, Facebook is a key area for us that we pretty much live on and are very active, and Instagram as well. So these also have fundraisers that as clubs or as individuals, we can also champion. We increasingly see the use of Facebook and Instagram for these fundraising. Again, I always go back to my club because we leverage on these platform to be able to raise funds, and that has been successful. Paystack and Flutterwave for our Nigerians also, that's also very useful. And what we have done, the experience I've had using Paystack and Flutterwave is basically just embedding the link that Paystack would typically share to your platform. And once donors click on that link, it takes you to the Paystack portal, and they're able to they're able to make their payments. You can have like standard amounts, or you can make it variable, so people put what it is they want to donate, and then you can easily have them send or transfer the funds via these platforms. That's very, very key. Of course, for clubs, you can choose to have dedicated web pages that speak to this. There's every opportunity to do so. But I think the most important thing in terms of when we do want to leverage, okay, I talked about, I skipped PayPal. PayPal it's also being utilized, and that's a very popular platform. A lot of us use PayPal in terms of sending funds. So that can also be embedded in existing campaigns, or as a standalone campaign, depending on the kind of platform or the structure you want to utilize for the campaign. It's important to note that for a couple of these platforms, some of them are free. You might just have to pay a one-off transaction cost. Some are negligible, and there are some that provide the option of the donor bearing the cost of the payment. It gives you an option to, as a donor, opt to bear the transaction cost, or leave that to the fundraising organization to do so. For some donors, I mean, for them, it's a way of showing support that they opt to bear the cost, the transaction cost for such transactions. So, but I mean, it's typically open. So the opportunities, I mean, like I said, are endless, and it's just to identify what is it that works for you as a club, in this case, and that's very, very key. Again, area leader Sam had shared a bit about this. It's important that when you are fundraising, you are very strategic, in the sense that you have to be deliberate. You have to have a very clear pathway and come up with a formula for success. And the important thing is starting with a very compelling story, because you're not there to speak or convince people, but how well your story, the impact you want to make with the funds raised, your credibility, all is brought to bear, because you're not there to engage with donors or prospective donors, as the case may be. So it's important that you utilize very fantastic visuals that speak for themselves. It's important that you also do ensure that there's some form of connection between the cause and your audience. We always talk about the fact that you want to come from a human-centered angle to address some of these causes, because that way, for the everyday individual who you're seeking to donate to your cause, it's more relatable, because you want them to feel connected to the impact that you would make. That's very, very critical. And providing regular updates is also key, because that's a way that you are able to further strengthen your credibility. The picture we see on the screen is an online fundraising campaign that we do run in my club, and we've been running it for 5 years now. And it's basically around diabetes. You can see the Strides logo there. It's raising funds for diabetes. For every year, once we raise those funds, we either support diabetic clinics or indigent people living with diabetes. So sometimes it's donation of glucometers, or specific items that, come to our attention. But the important thing is that we always try to reach back to our donors, to share success stories. We also do share that in our social media platforms so that people are able to see what those funds are being utilized for. And it also keeps us accountable, because indeed, I mean, donations are being made and people want to see where their monies, are put to, how their monies are put to use, and that's also something that makes it easier for donors to, donate another time when you do approach them. We also have done public recognition. So for most people, when they complete the run, we have an online flyer that acknowledges the fact that they've participated, and we circulate it so that at least that public recognition is also given to those donors. It's very important that we are very transparent. I mentioned accountability earlier. That's critical, because you cannot not be accountable, because it comes with its negative consequences. Because when you go back to those donors, there's every possibility that if you haven't positioned yourself as an organization or as a club that's credible, that is transparent, that's accountable, you might not be able to raise more funds subsequently. So it's important that we're very transparent about how we utilize our funds, and that's very, very critical. Important thing again, when you're coming up with your campaigns, just keep it simple, mobile friendly, so that people are able to, with the click of a button, donate. You don't want to overstress your donors, when they are, trying to give to a good cause. So let's be very mindful of that. And it's important, lastly, that it's not about coming up with a fantastic campaign, but how are you putting the story out there? How are you sharing this? Again, word of mouth is great, but we can always leverage on technology and social media as well. I always say that for a lot of us, 90% of our 90% of our time is spent on social media. So we pretty much live there. So how are we taking advantage of these platforms to amplify the various causes that we're promoting? So for clubs, let your club members circulate your campaigns across the various platforms: WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. There's so many these days, and quite a number of us are active in these spaces. So we need to encourage our members to do so. And it's important that we understand that, even if it's online fundraising, that we pretty much would say it's with a click of a button, it's not one man's job. It still requires collective action. It still requires leveraging on our broader network. I believe that's the whole essence of why we are Lions. Yeah, it's to leverage on the power of numbers. But I mean, if it's left for one or two people, then success will be very far. You can explore sharing via email as well. Clubs that utilize email data bases. You can collaborate with influencers or figures within the community. It could be the Bale, if he's active on social media. It could be your local government chairman. It could be other partner organizations. And increasingly, we see that a lot of people find it easy to use QR codes. So you want to explore having QR codes in some of your materials as well, because once people just open their camera, they just scan through and they are able to access the link. So it's something that it's practical. It's something that is doable. It's something that we cannot run away from, because the technology is here to stay. But the most important thing is, how do we take advantage of this to promote and foster the impact that we seek to make as Lions. So on this note, I'll pass on to Pastor Area Leader for the next round. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Joyce. And I just want to add to that last slide, which brings us to call to action, that all we have said is useless if you don't attempt it. If you don't take steps, if you don't take action. And taking action starts with planning a campaign. Let's go back one more slide, sorry. Taking action starts with planning a campaign. And it's important to draw your attention, dear friends, to the fact that success usually starts with small steps. You could actually, just as a club project, decide that you want to organize a small fundraiser. Say to shed here, £100. A fundraiser of 100, 200, 500 pounds. But putting so much into the planning phase, telling the story properly. So success stories, you need to craft them properly. Having the links, the appropriate links to payment portals, and taking advantage of all your members' social network and even your friends' social network. So the planning needs to be evolved effectively. Start today with a small project that you don't need more than £200-300 or dollars to fix. Do it so professionally, even if you have to engage someone who can support you. Joyce talked about using community influencers, but we also have social media influencers. So you could actually use social media influencers to help broadcast your story and put your fundraising link out there. Some of them come at a cost. The beauty of our community influencers is that they'll do it for free because they want to support your program. But a lot of social media influencers and, in quotes, content creators, because I see so many things they call content today. A lot of those content creators come at a cost. Work out all those details. For you, the most important thing is market penetration. If you are able to penetrate, say, 300,000 people, get to click on your link, you're sure that at least 3,000 of them, 1%, would get to give you something, even if it's $1 each. You would have far exceeded. So do a big campaign for a small amount of money. Report on it. And once you've reported on that, like Joyce said, once you've shown the impact you achieved with that small money, subsequent campaigns, one, you've gained experience on how to develop a good campaign. And secondly, you've also done it and you've shown people how you utilize the funds. You would never fail after that raising funding. Let's go to the next slide. So we are saying modernize your club's activities because this is the future. It eliminates the cost of fundraising significantly. And you could even start, even if you don't go to any of these platforms, you could actually invite people to a virtual fundraiser, integrating it with a social media campaign. Let me give you an example. Let's assume you want to plant trees. You've done a community needs assessment. You found a place where erosion is eroding the place. You go there and you do a couple of video shots, showing how planting trees and greening that area could save lives, save properties. And you do a social media campaign for like 2-3 weeks to educate people with your video, your professional video. And we have Lions who produce those professional videos. Then you invite people, after that, you invite people to a virtual fundraiser. Amazing how much money you could raise without even going on any of these platforms we've listed. We have tons of these platforms, and we are ready to share them with you. We're ready to support you. But the most important thing is, don't go out there and make noise when you have not built up, planned your campaign properly. Embrace as much digital tools, Instagram, Facebook. Embrace these tools as much as possible. If you're a professional person, embrace LinkedIn, because a lot of professionals on LinkedIn also have the resources to do some of these things, and they hardly have the time. They hardly have the time to go out and do community service. LinkedIn is not just a social media platform. It's a platform that connects professionals. So what I'm basically driving at is modernize your club. Next slide, please. If you innovate today, your impact will keep speaking for years to come. So as we modernize the club, it will show from our fundraising activities. As we integrate a lot of technology into our fundraising activities, we could see growth and expansion. And that way, our club members, you see, we keep talking about membership retention. I think we belabor membership retention. What we need is innovation. If you innovate, people will stay. If you invest in tools that make it easier to become a lion and stay as a lion, people will stay. Next slide. So at this point, we will take one or two questions, but quite frankly, Joyce and I want to say thank you for the privilege of, sharing our thoughts on something that we think can transform a lot of Lions clubs. Give us funding, and please don't use the funding to pay dues. No matter what you do, don't use the funding to pay dues. Engineer Kinsanya, I believe? Yes. You want to ask a question? Please go ahead. Unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, he's not speaking. Any other person who wants to, someone who has not spoken before, you want to ask a question, please? Okay, clearly there's no question. Joyce, you have any finishing statements before we invite the DG back?
I see a hand. I don't know. Okay,
Doris. Yeah, Doris, please speak.
Good evening, my leaders.
Good evening.
I'm really happy to be part of this training. I've really learned a lot. Please, just one question. How do we give feedback to these donors of what we have done with the funds raised, so that subsequently, if we want to go back to them, they will be willing to be part of it again?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lion. Doris. I'll share my thoughts and allow Joyce, if she wants to add anything, to add. Let me say clearly that a good campaign includes being able to retain some information about who your donors were, either their email, their WhatsApp, or their profile on that platform. Some platforms allow you to require donors to create a platform. So if you've donated to a particular cause, any report from that cause also is distributed to you. So these are all the issues that dictate which platform you want to go for. Unfortunately, some of this, like Joyce pointed out, some of these platforms will require you to pay for this service. But you must insist that whatever planning you're doing, your campaign must include feedback, donor feedback. So there's a checklist of the things you need to include in your campaign. We didn't talk, that's too much detail for a 1-hour training like we are doing now. But there's a checklist of things you must include in your campaign. That checklist immediately, triggers, what must be part of that campaign. And one of it is donor feedback. Again, you could also post a link in your story when you're campaigning for funds, you could post a link in your story, providing them with access to your website. Now, every Lions Club has a free website called eClubhouse, but we don't use it. If you utilize your eClubhouse, just use the eClubhouse for posting your projects. That's all. Don't talk about the president, the meetings and all that. Those are boring stuff to non-Lions. Just put up materials about the impact you're creating, how many people, the things you put up on the Lions portal. Bring it out. Photographs, videos, the number of people served, how much money was raised for each of your projects. If you keep updating that, anybody can go back and click at any point in time to see what have these guys done with the money we gave to them. And then if you have access to your donor records, send them a thank you note. Joyce, you want to say something on that before we ask Oyinda to speak?
I think you pretty much said it, because I mean, for most people who would donate, you know them one way or the other, and leveraging on the various platforms, again, social media, to amplify the stories of your impact would help enhance credibility and be a means of providing feedback to your donors as well. Because I would expect that for a lot of these donors, I mean, they see what you do online, people post on their club pages, on their own personal pages, on various WhatsApp groups and group status as well. So that's also a way. But I mean, I always say that there are some donors that you will call to give feedback. Yeah, you would personally reach out because of the quantum of support you received from them. Those are I see have gone beyond being donors, but more like partners, because they have pretty much keyed into your cause and have been very strong supporters. And the way you manage your donors, would also inform how much you're able to get out of them. So you will pet them and keep cutting them as well. Yeah. Oyinda.
Good evening, great Lion leaders. My leaders, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I want to thank you and Lion Joyce for this very insightful lecture. And I know we are going places in Lions Club in Nigeria. But I want to make maybe about 2 suggestions. Can I suggest that this kind of lecture comes up maybe during the MG convention, 1, and then 2, maybe at the training of the incoming president. I don't know if there could be a platform. It's a short lecture, so maybe 40, 45 minutes. I know a leader can do that within 40, 30 minutes. So is it not possible we do that? Honestly, we really need to. I just had the program. I just had this International Women's Day celebration. By the grace of God, the Women Family Membership Development Committee for my district, 442. And we just had the celebration. I had it last week, Tuesday. I tried as much as possible to manage the resources. I tried so much that we won't spend so much money. Okay, we get sponsors. So eventually we got sponsors for major things. And then the hall was like a quarter of the usual hall in Lagos, just 200,000 for the hall, a big place, and everything was in place. So I try as much as, even the media, I try as much as possible to minimize the spending. But at the end of the day, I find out that we were spending half of the money I raised. And so I'm trying to look at, because I sat down to think about when I asked that the person who was taking the money from the district and then giving it out, spending it, to give me an account. And she gave me, and I looked at it and I said, do you think we spend so much? And she gave me a breakdown. And I was like, I never wanted to spend as much as this. And I think this lecture is a very, very good one, and it's coming at the right time. Because in Lions Club, I think by now we need to minimize the amount we spend on our investitures, on our projects, on anything that we want to do, so that we concentrate on spending more of the money, either to empower people or to, carry out activity or whatever we want to do. Because I discovered that we spend less money on our projects, while we spend so much money, like just I said at the opening, so much money on investiture. Because what I had in mind was that whatever we're going to raise from the program, we will be empowering some of our women, lions, not outside Lions Club. Because we have a lot of lions who are distressed. So that was my
Lion. Thank you, Lion Onyindo. Your comments are noted. And let me just say that I'm a floor member right now. So Lion Joyce, who is GLT, I'm sure she will propose it to her co-GLT in the other districts. They'll work out something. What we did here was from one district, and thank God you appreciate it. But we have lions from all over Africa on this call today, from Zambia, from Ghana, from Uganda. I've seen a lot of comments here that came from lions from outside the country. So if you ask me, the message is going out, and we're always available to support. Joyce and I, on this particular subject matter, will be too happy to help many Lions clubs find some footing and do it right. Because if we do it wrongly, you know, if one Lions club should go and run a very bad campaign or a fraudulent campaign, no Lions club will ever be able to run a campaign. You remember there was, during COVID, Joyce invited a group to come and a Lions Club, a virtual Lions Club in Pennsylvania, to come and share, what they were doing. It was chartered during COVID, during the lockdown. And they had raised $18,000 in less than a month. There are opportunities. But it just takes one fraudulent person to do it the wrong way. So we want to encourage and guide and support Lions to do it the proper way. Thank you. Lion Adediji, please put down your hand if you're not ready to speak. We had invited you to speak, but you did not speak. Please put down your hand. Maybe you put it up in error.
Lion, sir.
Oh, you're ready to speak. Okay, beautiful.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you call my name initially. That's why I didn't speak, sir. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Thank you. First of all, let me appreciate the effort that has been put in place for this fantastic piece. It is indeed laudable, and I know it's going to take us places. I want to appeal that I know a lot of this was recorded. If those of us who will be opportune to be part of this training can have a piece of the recording, so that it can also help us improve on the areas that we couldn't capture during the course of the lecture, perhaps through network error and all those other things. Then secondly, sir, please, I want to appeal to you and the team that how can we harness our past projects that we have done that we know that are laudable and can help us generate funds? How can we go back to these projects and make them a GoFundMe project so that it can also assist our clubs in generating revenue? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lion Adediji, and I am very impressed with that last comment, because a lot of our projects, unfortunately, were personalized at the time they were being done. You see, when a president makes a project his personal project, yes, you clap hands for you and you go, but nobody pays attention to it. That's why it should be a collective of the club. Once it is a club project, everybody will be interested in what happens to it. But by now, every club should diarize and have video shots and all that of projects they have carried out and the impact. I am currently in Benin attending a training institute, a Lions Training Institute, facilitating a Lions Training Institute. And as I drove around on my arrival, I saw projects that we did 35 years ago, 36 years. Incidentally, I did my youth service in this same town 36 years ago. And so I saw projects we did then. No remembrance, nothing that links it to Lions Club. In fact, at the hotel where I'm staying, just a short walking distance, there is a big bus stop built by Benin Royal Lions Club. There's no sign of anything there to show that the Lions built it. If I intend to call the then president, Lion Tom Aroko, to say, or no, the then president, Michael Ebesunu, and tell him, look, my friend, go and check that project out and refurbish it so everybody can use it. Why am I saying this? We have invested so much and we've kept very little track record of it. So the first step to a good campaign is for you to curate all your club has done. Maybe curate what your district has done, because at times you need support of what your district has done. You know, when you talk of motherless babies, there's nothing greater than the motherless village we built in Lekki, but it was a collective effort. You know, so I appreciate what you said, and let's start by curating it at the club level and the district level. We'll take one question and close. I think we've done we started at 8:15, so we've done exactly 1 hour in the next 1 minute. So we'll take one more question and close. And if there's no question, may we, yes, Lion Doris, Vice Governor Doris. Doris, I'm in your territory.
I just heard that. Hopefully, I will see you tomorrow, sir. You're welcome to Benin. We are happy to have you here. So this is an observation. Recently, I tried to donate to LCIF. And when I went through the process, it was so long, there was so much information, and I ended up not doing that donation.
Do you still have the money? Do you still have the money?
Yes, I think it was a disaster that happened in one of the countries.
Do you still have the money?
I still have the money. I was moved, just as you, because they put a compelling story to at least make people donate. And I was compelled when I read the story. But the information, the procedure was so lengthy. I woke up early and I just stumbled it. I said, let me just do this today and start off my day with this. But too much information. At the end of the day, I didn't do it. So I am sharing this so that if we eventually start doing this GoFund, whatever, we will minimize the amount of information that is required before a donation is eventually made. Thank you, sir.
Okay, don't forget, thank you for that observation, and I will I'll push that information upwards to LCIF. But let me also add that if you live in certain jurisdictions, or if you're operating in certain jurisdiction, because of tax laws, that information is required. For instance, you may not use that donation for your tax reporting, your tax filing, but if you're in America, that will significantly reduce how much you have to pay as tax. So that's why they ask for all that information. You could have just transferred that money directly to Oak Brook through your bank and just sent an email, and that's it. It's done. Lion Kojo wanted to ask a question, please. That's our last question.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to add that we need to try new things. Apart from Lagos Phoenix, I don't think any other club does this online fundraising. But the truth is that if you go to Facebook and see how Nigerians are very generous when it comes to helping people, then we need to utilize those things we do to raise money.
Sure, please mute yourself.
Because you see mute yourself. Issues that pop up on Facebook, and Nigerians are donating millions just to assist that person. So if as Lions we are able to properly teleguide our activities and showcase it to the public. Now it is very easy. If you want to write and you do not have that writing skills, just go to AI and ask simple, I need a publication for the press on diabetes or cancer. AI will give you that right for that specific purpose. If it's for TV, is for social media, it is for newspaper, it will pop it up. Just copy it, put your pictures under, and then tell your stories and ask for donation, and then push it. But most times, discover that all our activities in club levels end up in discrete WhatsApp groups. They hardly find their ways to Facebook. So reorientation of our mind and our attitude will lead us to where we are going to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I totally align with what Kojo has just shared, Lion Kojo has shared with us, and it's something we need to look at. On that note, I'm sure Joyce will take over from here. I'm sure she has some closing statements to make, and the DG also. Joyce.
Thank you very much, Past Area Leader Sam, for your very insightful contributions. And thank you to all Lions who have taken out time to join us this evening. It's heartwarming to hear that we found this useful and insightful. That's the whole essence of why we are here. Before we take pictures, let me just do a gentle reminder that if you are yet to fill the attendance, please fill it via the link. We had over 80 participants, but only about 70 or thereabouts have filled the attendance thus far. So please kindly oblige. I want to invite our first Vice District Governor to give us the vote of thanks. Yeah. First Vice District Governor, Mary, over to you.
There we go. Good evening, my GLT, my past area leader, sir. Good evening, my great Lion and Lion leaders in the house. I just want to say a very big thank you. Good words have been spoken about the choice and selection of today's training. Indeed, it has been very, very, very insightful for not just me, but I see from the questions, everyone else. So thank you very much for bringing this to bear. My GLT, well done. I will not leave without appreciating my DG for making these monthly sessions keep going for us. So thank you very much. But most especially, I'd like to thank all the 80 plus people who were on board. That means there's 80 more of us who are more knowledgeable than we came. And I hope to be able to apply this knowledge in the very near future. Thank you so much and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. On that note, please would have everyone turn on their camera so we can take a picture. So please get under the lights. If you need to touch up on your powder or your lipstick or brush your beards. For those who have no hair on their scalp, you can just oil it a bit more. You know yourself. The link is opening because a couple of people have said and I have over 70 people who have registered. So I'm reposting it. Please let's just try again and see. But while we're doing so, please let's all turn on our cameras. Okay.
First Vice Governor, this your photograph is make-believe.
Is what?
Is make-believe.
AI picture.
Is AI picture, yes. So.
My past area leader, sir. Nobody noticed it, only you.
I did, though, I did.
I did.
from yellow to black.
Okay, so let's say cheese.
Cheese, everyone.
Let's see big greens. Okay, another cheese, because I have